In my opinion, I feel like Jack Harlow is one of the most confusing modern hip-hop artists. You may agree with me or disagree with me, but today I'm here to explain why. And honestly, before I start yapping, it honestly depends who you ask. You will definitely get completely different answers. Some people see him as one of the most talented rappers of his generation. Someone with charisma, confidence, and the ability to make songs that connect with millions of people. But other people see him something completely different. They see an artist who became famous because of his image, someone who fits the mold of a superstar, but maybe doesn't have the music to back it up. And honestly, I understood both sides. Before making this video, I didn't know where I stood on Jack Harlow. I knew his hits, I knew his memes, I knew his reputation, but I never actually listened to his entire discography. So I decided to do something different. I listened to every single Jack Harlow album from beginning to end. 9 projects, from his earliest mixtapes to his biggest commercial moments to the albums where he completely changed direction. And after listening to everything, I had one question. Is Jack Harlow actually talented, or is he just a rapper people wants to believe is talented? Every artist had to start somewhere, and for Jack Harlow, the beginning shows an artist who clearly had potential but hasn't found himself yet. 18 feels like an introduction. You can hear the ambition, you can hear someone who wants to become something bigger, but at this point, Jack Harlow doesn't feel like a finished artist. And that's okay. Most great artists don't start great, they start searching. And then come Gazebo. And honestly, this is where I thought the biggest weakness of early Jack Harlow appears. The talent is there, but the identity isn't there. There are moments where you hear flashes of the artist he could become, but too often it feels like he's still figuring out what kind of rapper he wants to be. And the hardest part of creating anything, finding your voice, not copying what works, not trying to become what people expect, actually discovering what only you can make. However, Loose is where things start changing. This is where Jack Harlow begins feeling more confident. The personality becomes clearer, the writing improves, the music starts feeling less like someone trying to become a rapper, and more like someone becoming an artist. Is it perfect? No, but you can see the growth. You can see the pieces coming together. And lastly, that's where Confetti proves it all. And this is where I think Jack Harlow starts becoming recognizable. Because the biggest improvement isn't just the production, it's the confidence. He starts understanding what makes him different, the personality, the storytelling, the ability to make songs that feel personal while still being accessible. This is the first project where I stopped thinking Jack Harlow has potential and start thinking Jack Harlow might actually be great. After years of building himself up, Jack Harlow started getting attention, and with attention come expectation. Sweet Action feels like a transition point, especially his viral song What's Poppin'. However, it feels like an artist standing between two versions of himself. The hungry rapper trying to prove he belongs, and the future superstar that the industry wants him to become. There are good moments here. You can hear the confidence, you can hear the personality, but compared to where he would eventually go, something feels incomplete. It feels like Jack Harlow is starting to understand his strength, but hasn't fully trusted them yet. The problem isn't that the music is bad, the problem is that it feels like he's still searching for the perfect version of himself. Then we get the project that changed everything. That's what they all said, is where Jack Harlow finally feels comfortable. This is the album where everything started to connect. The confidence, the personality, the production, the ability to make songs that can work for both longtime rap fans and casual listeners. And I think this album proves something important. Jack Harlow's biggest strength has never just been his technical ability, it's his ability to connect. He knows how to make music that feels effortless. He knows how to create moments, and sometimes people underestimate that. Because being popular doesn't automatically mean someone lacks talent. Making millions of people care about a song is a skill. The question has never been, can Jack Harlow make a hit? Clearly he can. The real question is, can he make music that lasts? And at this point in his career, it felt like the answer could be yes.
I've been throw up the sex in
You probably have heard the song First Class by Jack Harlow, and that song is overplayed in my opinion. And to be honest, that's the biggest challenge, success. Because being famous creates a problem that every artist eventually faces. People stop listening to what you make, they start listening for what they expect. And I think this is what happened with Come Home, the Kids Miss You. This album feels like Jack Harlow trying to prove something, trying to show everyone that he belongs at the highest level. But sometimes when artists try too hard to prove they are important, they lose the thing that made people care about them. The confidence starts feeling less natural. The personality that made him interesting feels less present. And the biggest irony is Jack Harlow's best music often comes when he isn't trying to convince people that he's a superstar. It comes when he's simply being himself. However, this is where my opinion of Jack Harlow changed, because if you only looked at his biggest moment, you might think Jack Harlow is just a mainstream rapper. But after listening to everything, I don't think that's true. I think Jack Harlow's career is actually a story about an artist struggling between two identities, the version of himself that the world wants and the version of himself that creates his best music. And so, when Jack Harlow released Jackman, and this is the project that completely changed my perspective. Because this doesn't feel like an artist chasing popularity, it feels like an artist chasing honesty. The production is simpler, the songs are more focused, the writing is more direct, and most importantly, Jack sounds comfortable. This is the version of Jack Harlow that people who criticize him probably wanted to see. Not because he's trying to prove he's the best rapper alive, but because he sounds like someone who actually understands himself. And that's why this is my highest rated Jack Harlow project. Because he is answering the biggest criticism against him. Is he just a popular rapper? I don't think so. Because the people who can make a project like this clearly has something to say. The question isn't whether he has talent, the question is why he sometimes hide it. After Jackman, Jack Harlow continued exploring a different side of himself. Monica. Feels like another step in that direction. It's not perfect, it doesn't reach the same level as Jackman, but it shows growth. It shows an artist who is still experimenting. And honestly, that might be the most interesting thing about Jack Harlow. He isn't a finished product. He's still trying to figure out the balance between being successful and being authentic. After listening to 9 Jack Harlow projects, my final rating is a 6 out of 10. And honestly, I think that's where the conversation gets complicated. Because a 6 out of 10 artist with a 10 out of 10 album is not someone without talent. A 6 out of 10 artist with an 8.3 album and a 7.9 album is not someone who got lucky. I don't think Jack Harlow is a fake artist. I think he's an artist who had spent years fighting against the expectation that came with his success. When he tries to be the superstar everyone wants him to be, the music becomes weaker. And when he stops worrying about proving himself, that's when he becomes interesting. That's when he becomes great. So is Jack Harlow talented? Yes. But the biggest question isn't whether he has talent, it's whether he trusts himself enough to show it. Because the best version of Jack Harlow isn't the one trying to convince everyone he's a superstar. It's the one who remembers why people cared about him in the first place. Music is just more than a song. It's the story of an artist trying to figure out who they are. And sometimes the most interesting artists aren't the ones who are perfect. They're the ones still searching. What artist should I listen to next? Let me know. And if you want more deep dives into why music matters, subscribe to Jet FN.